Welcome back. In our prior video, we examined the select distinct constraint. You may remember that in some of the queries that we saw in that video, when we got back the result with a list of distinct values, it was natural to ask, is it possible to order this value? For example, in the list of genres, we could see the results being displayed in pretty much in a random order, and you might have been asking yourself, would it be possible to see these things in alphabetical order? Well, the answer is yes, and we're going to see that today. To achieve the sorting, we are going to use the order by construct. The order by in SQL goes at the bottom of the SQL query after the from command. So the structure of the command is select, then the list of attributes, then from, followed by the table name that we are querying, and then we have the order by command. Then after the order by command, we have a comma-separated list of attributes that we are going to use for sorting. And for each of the attributes, we can specify whether we want to sort in ascending, ASC order, or in descending, DESC order. By default, the order is ascending, so typically in most queries that you're going to see, you're not going to see the ASC following the attribute because things are by default sorted in ascending order. However, if we want to sort an attribute in descending order, then we type the attribute name, then space, and then the keyword desk to define that we're going to get things in descending order. Now, closely related to order by is also the limit command. Limit is followed by a number which specify how many lines we want to see in the result. Just for your information, the limit part is not a standard part of SQL, and different database systems tend to use slightly different names. However, the differences are rather simple to understand if you read the documentation for the different database systems, for example, Oracle versus Microsoft SQL Server versus MySQL, and so on. Now, let's try to do a few example queries with order by. Let's say that we want to get the list of the top 10 ranked movies with the highest ratings in the database. Let's execute this query. The information is in the movies table in IMDb. So let's go to the IMDb database, use IMDb. Then we type select star from movies to get back all the movies. Of course, this is not order. We want to order things by rank, so we take now this vanilla select star query and we add at the end order by rank at the bottom of the query. And since we want to have the highest rated movies on top, we want to rank using the rank attribute, but we want the highest values on top, so we need to rank it in descending order. Therefore, we go and we type desk after rank. We execute the command, and now you will see that we get back the movies in decreasing order of rank. Now, if you take a look at the results, you will see that we have quite a few movies having a 9.9 score, so we have a lot of ties. By default in SQL, there is no specific order among ties, so things can appear in pretty much random order. If we want to impose an order among ties, we need to add a second or a third attribute in order by. Now, let's say that we want to use the release year of the movie to break ties. So if two movies have the same rank, we're going to display first the movies that were released first. To achieve that, we are going to modify our query, the select star from movies, order by rank descending. This is the query that we had before. Now we want to break ties in the rank, so we modify our query and we add comma year after the rank descending. So at the bottom line, we have order by rank descending, comma year, and then a semicolon. Notice that now in the results, all the movies still have 9.9 as rank, but then we have movies ranked by year. So we have first the movie released in 1926, then the movie released in 1934, and so on. So notice now in the results that we have the Devil's Circus, released in 1926, Napoleon Bonaparte afterwards. But when we go to 1942, you'll see that we have a tie among movies with rank 9.9 and year of release 1942. Now we want to break ties further, so we are going to add the attribute name as the third attribute in the order by release. So we go and we add name at the end. And now when we run the query and see the results, we have duck soup, which goes beyond this Ubici Vychodiat na Darogu. And that's an example where now we rank movies based on rank, then based on year, and then based on name. And you can see this is how we achieve a sorted order that uses 3 attributes. Let's go back and let's say that we want to limit now the results to the top 10 movies, right? That are sorted according to this criterion that we defined. For that, we go after order by and we add limit 10, and this construct tells the database to only return back 10 rows. So let's execute it, and here is the result with the most highly rated movies. Now, let's do another example. We want to get back the different movie genres that appear in the database and then order them alphabetically. Now, if you remember from our prior video, we use the following command to get back the list of genres. So select distinct genre from movies genres, and we execute the command and notice that we get back the distinct genres, but they are unordered. We want to impose a sorting order, so to achieve that, we go at the end of the query and we add order by genre, and now the results come back alphabetically. So we have action, adult, adventure, animation, and so on. So the whole list of genres sorted alphabetically. So to recap, today we learned how to order the results from a query using order by, and we learned how to limit the number of rows that we get back using limit. Now, with this part, we conclude our first part of the discussion about SQL, where we learned the basics of the select statement. In our next section, we are going to start learning how we can put conditions on what type of data we get back from the database using the where clause. Until then, play around and practice. See you next time.